Hello, I'm Gary Greenwood. I'm sat in my studio in front of Eddia 6.5 on this bleak September day. I spend 10 hours a day in this studio, 7 days a week. But before I get here I need to record the footage, and I've built up quite a collection of cameras to do that. The workhorses of my collection are these 151s, Panasonic 3-chip. I use these for dance shows. At weddings I might use them for the speeches, a couple of these, because they're very easy to use. I have been using these at night time at speeches, at weddings too, because the low light capability of these cameras is extremely good. It's ideal for that. They're quite light. I've also got these little, one little SD700, as you can see. The picture quality on this, even though it's a consumer camera, is amazing. It actually does 25 bits at 1080 50p, which is extremely good, and outside the picture quality is better than the 151s. But what I really want to talk to you about today is the Canon 5D Mark III and the GH2. Both of them extremely good cameras, especially outside. I took a visit to Plesley Mines yesterday, which is a museum. We're hoping to make a documentary about the place in a little while, so we're trying to get permission to do that. But yesterday we just did a recce of the place, just to have a look around, and we took these two cameras, it's the 5D and the GH2, just to try them out against each other, see how they performed against each other, how easy they are to use. I used this. My wife Janet has never used this before, so she used this yesterday just to see how easy it is for her to use. And I'll show you a few pictures. Have a look, see what you think, and then we'll talk more when we come back. Okay, I'm hoping you found that little video as interesting as I did, because comparing the GH2 and the Canon Mark III side by side like that, you can see just how different they record. GH2 much sharper. I did notice as well with the GH2 that there was a bit of movement in the brickwork. Now this could be because I recorded it in 1080 25p. Well, I did that with both cameras, but the Canon was quite stable. Now, talking about 1080 25p, I know a lot of the top filmmakers around the country use this mode, so I thought I'd have a go. And I recorded all day yesterday with it. Now, the problem I found with that mode is that to get depth of field, I haven't got any neutral density filters at the moment, so I used a higher shutter rate. And high shutter rate with 1080 25p does not work that well. And to prove that theory, I made a little video this morning. Now here you see me dancing around at 720 50p at low shutter rate. Very high shutter rate is me dancing around at 720 50p. There's a big difference at 1080 25p at high shutter rate. So from that little video you can see why I like 720 50p rather than using 25p. So I'll not be using 25p anymore after this. Let's do a few more comparison shots between the Canon and the GH2 at Presley Pitt Museum, just to see how the colours compare against each other. Both cameras were set to daylight. Okay, there is a bit difference in the colour temperature on both the GH2 and the 5D. Some will prefer the GH2, some will prefer the 5D. Mixing them together on the same timeline might be a bit of a problem because they're so different. And since Janet has fell in love with the GH2, she's actually claimed it off us, so on shoots from now on she'll be using that and I'll be using the Canon. So mixing those together on the same timeline is going to be a bit of a challenge, which I'm rising up to, and I will actually put something together, put on this review of trying to get them to blend more the same. So we'll see if that works. Hopefully it will. Right, let's talk handling. Now, with this, it is a lot heavier than the GH2, so it's a lot heavier than what I'm used to. But I've got my glide pod, as you saw in the video, so the weight shouldn't really be of a problem because it's already supported on there for most of the time. I will be getting a little bracket for it for handheld shots, for when you can't get the glide pod in or you need to react much faster. So I will be getting some kind of shoulder brace for that. Now, I found it very, very easy to use. Right, let's put this up here. You've basically got this, all the F numbers. There's a little dial here on top, which you can turn, that does your shutter. Clearly labelled button here for your ISO, and there's another clearly labelled button for your white balance. Basically, those buttons there, your shutter and your F numbers, all you need. To start stop it, I've got the start stop button here. The screen is almost 1,000,000 pixels resolution. What you see there is what you get, which is what I want. It's not what I'm used to, because the GH2 was on a 400,000. So sometimes it'll look sharp on there when you get home, it's slightly out. But I found yesterday when I used this, it was pretty much what you see there is what you get back home. So I didn't have one single shot that was out of focus. Well, one. Just one, that's all. Another very useful button. I've heard you can actually move this to another button somewhere. And this you can zoom up. Before you shot, you push it and you get, I've set this for 4 times. So you push it and suddenly you're 4 times nearer, so you can focus, push it again a couple of times, and then you're back onto wide angle and you can film. And you know it's in focus because you've zoomed right up. And there goes my phone. Hopefully my wife will answer it for us downstairs. So I found this really easy to use. I loved it, and I loved the screen, being able to see the screen clearly. Only problem is it doesn't move. I'd have loved it to be able to pull out, move it about, but they did that because the weatherproof, and this you can take out in the rain and not worry about it. Unless of course you've got a mic in and you've got mic in, which you have to undo that and suddenly they're all exposed to the weather. And instead of putting the headphone socket with a mic, it's actually in this other one, so you're going to have 2 of these open for the mic and headphone. I can't see the point of that. I'd have thought that they'd put the mic at the same, just under the headphones, you know. Anyway, okay, we've looked at the Canon. Now let's look at the GH2. GH2 I've had for over a year, so I know much more about this camera. First of all, it's only half the size, half the weight. And I know some of the Canon boys here, oh, it's too small, it looks like a toy. This is fantastic to use. You can use this all day and you don't go home with a dead arm. Absolutely brilliant for that. The picture quality is fantastic. I don't know if you'll agree after you've seen on there, but I think it's fantastic quality. Especially outside, you know, fantastic. The buttons on this camera, as you can see, let me put it a bit closer, are much smaller than the Canon. You've got no big wheel, you've only got this little wheel here. This is what you use to brighten and darken it, and to change the F numbers by pushing it, because it clicks when you push it. These buttons are here for your white balance, ISO, etc, etc. You can move about the menu. The screen actually moves about, which is fantastic, yeah! And it's touchscreen. Very reflective though, unfortunately. Gets finger marks all over it, as you can probably see. And outside it's only 400,000 pixels, like I mentioned before. And it's unfortunately very hard to see in sunlight. So outside, you're trying to film with this, it's very hard. But a good point, because it's a mirrorless camera, you can use that eyepiece. So outside, when you use that, it's actually better than the LCD. Now I've got a little video just to go through in more detail about the different modes you can put in to help you film with this camera. So as the camera got complete manual override, in the menu system you've got 4 options. You've got completely automatic, but you've got 3 other options, and the first option, you can lock whatever you like at any level and have completely automatic the other. For instance, you can have complete control over the aperture and have automatic shutter, or you can have complete control on the shutter and have automatic exposure, or aperture should I say. Or you can lock both the aperture and the shutter separately. Unfortunately, that's not complete manual override like it should be, because the camera still lightens and darkens itself. The only way to completely lock the camera is a little button at the back. Once you've got the exposure and the shutter, etc., something like you want, you can push the button, it won't move. No matter where you put the camera or aim it, you aim it at the sun, it doesn't move. It's great. Until you push the button again. Great for studio work, not so good if you're out in the field at a wedding, or for instance. Having said all that, I usually have choose the A option, which is exposure. So I've got complete control on the exposure side and just let it automatically change the shutter. I haven't found a problem with that as yet. One thing I noticed yesterday when I was filming with the Canon You push the start and the stop, it starts instant, it stops instant. I'm not used to that, because both with the 151s and the GH2, sometimes there can be a bit of a delay. Usually stops no problem, so when you push a button it stops. Getting them started again quickly can be a problem. With the GH2, it could take up to 5 seconds to start, maybe 6 or 7 seconds sometimes. So you're filming something, you stop filming, but something happens immediately and you want to start again. It doesn't. You're there. Start, start, start. Then it starts. You've missed it, you know. So that is one of the biggest problems with the GH2 I've had. And for that reason, I usually leave it running much longer than usual. So I get loads and loads of footage on the, you know, when I come back home. I've got loads of it because I don't switch it off. Well, I'll explain a bit more of that. Watch this video. We've talked about quite a lot of things to do with the camera. We've touched upon some good things and some bad things. One of the biggest problems with this camera I found, and it can be a big problem, you have to adjust the way you shoot things to overcome it, is the start-stop operation. Right, at the moment I am filming this camera. I'm not holding it steady, I'm just hand-holding, but it's just to prove how this kind of speed that we're talking about to try and start and stop it. So this is live for this camera operation. So I've just stopped it now. Now something's happening, I want to start again. It's not starting. It started there. What was that, 5 seconds? Sometimes it's longer, so... Right, at the moment it's switched off. There's a bus just coming, so I'm going to film it. So there's a bus just going around the corner. Bye bus. Okay, it's gone, so I'm stopping. So I've just pushed stop now. Oh, something's happened. I'm trying to start. I'm still trying to start. It started. Again, 5 seconds or so, 5-6 seconds, you've missed something. So generally, I try to leave it running more than I would do. So prior to getting out the car, I wouldn't, she's getting out, I'm going to the other side, I wouldn't stop it, I would keep it going. Just to try and overcome things like that. Okay, the start-stop issue is a bit of a problem, but I have overcome it. Like I say, I try not to turn off if anything interesting looks like it's going to happen. I might miss a shot now and again, but it's very rare that it is a problem. So if you have got the GH2 or you're thinking of getting it, it's not really too big an issue because you will overcome it eventually. It's every camera's got its faults. There'll be faults with this 5D Mark III, but I haven't found them yet, but there will be when I start using it more. Right, now while you were watching that video, I put a couple of clips together from the 5D and the GH2 just to see if I can get them to match more. And this is the result, as you can see. And how I did that, I added a bit of sharpness to the Canon shot. And for the GH2, I altered the colour slightly and turned the colour down a little bit. And as you can see, they're not too different now. Now during this review, I have been slating the GH2 off a bit. I don't mean to, because it's a fantastic camera, and just to prove how fantastic this camera is, I took it down to Mansfield Marketplace earlier in the year and took a few shots just for this review. So this is why the GH2 is fantastic. I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, the next test I'm going to do is in darkness. Now, I've got an LED light going. That's the only source of light coming into the room at the moment. There's some light from the monitors behind us. I'm looking at a TV screen I've got now, and this is an acceptable picture for the 151. I'm not using any gain. This is completely itself at f4. The other cameras will probably have some ISO on. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet, but I'll explain everything as I do it. I'm going to do the GH2 next, because the GH2 is not so good at night. So I'll try a few settings so you can see the differences, and then I'll put the Canon MKIII on, which I'm expecting to be much better than both this camera and the GH2. Hopefully I'm not going to get a nasty shock. Okay, these are the exact same light levels as the 151. I've set up the GH2 beside the 151 I'm recording with now, so you can see them both together. Now the GH2, the lowest f number it goes to on this particular lens is f4. I've put f4 lenses on both cameras, so you know they're both the same kind of thing. Hopefully about the same distance too. And I've set it up beside the 151, so the two cameras are right beside each other. The ISO is 640, and it's on outside 5200 Kelvin. So that's the setting we've got at the moment at 640. Now I'm just going to put the ISO up a bit because this picture is slightly too dark, perhaps. It's acceptable though. I mean, it's okay. I'm looking at the monitor now that I've plugged the camera into, and it looks pretty decent. So, but let's put up to 1200 and see what happens. Okay, the ISO is now at 1250. Reasonable picture on quite low light. Don't know what the gain's like. It looks okay on the monitor I've got here, so pretty decent results, I think. Compare this with the 151 I've still got running, because I'm using the sound and the light is on it, etc. So everything pretty reasonable, I think. Pretty reasonable. Right, shall we see what the Canon MKIII does? Picture looks fantastic on my monitor here. Looks much better than the GH2. I'm not sure if it is or not, because we'll soon find out when we compare them. But for me, I'll be very happy with that, and that's on an f4 lens. I've actually got a 2.8 wide angle lens as well, so for inside, that's probably fantastic. Better than anything I've ever done so far. So yeah, I'm very happy, but just for the hell of it, I'm going to try it on 3200 ISO, just to see what it's like. Okay, this is insane. I've put it up to 3200. It's still on f4 at 50 shutter frames. I could actually move the shutter. Move the other way, that'll help. Because you can actually move the shutter and the f numbers while you're recording, which is a good feature. So yeah, is there any gain? I can't see any on my little monitor here, but so we'll compare that with the 151. Okay then, that's all I've got for you. Hope this review to give you a bit of an insight against what the Canon and the GH2 offer. Both fantastic cameras, like I've said. You can do so much with them. But for me, the cost of the Canon's new for me anyway. I really love it. In the low light, I mean, I'm only at 3200, it goes up to 120,000 or whatever it is, something silly. So I think I've got pretty much the discos etc. sussed now, so I can use this camera all day, which is fantastic. I just need some more batteries. Okay, that's it. Thank you.